All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Kingdom of the Kael Isles. Yes, this is my custom D&D campaign where the people below me uh, have been kind enough to put their characters' lives in my hand. And obviously, being the kind-hearted, wonderful DM that I am, I would never abuse that trust in any way, shape, or form.
Sorry.
And to catch you guys up, bad things have happened. Their kind of home base got attacked by flying Eladrin. Eladrin have now come up with airships. They met a new friend in a gnome wizard who just so happened to help invent the airships that were used to destroy these guys' little home base. So that was fun. And then they decided to make for Draconis to try and see if they can get the dragon board. The only people the Eladrin have not been able to conquer in 400 or 500 some odd years. And in order to get there, they had to get a ship. They made friends with some pirates, met an old friend of theirs, whom they found out is named Serge. And now they have just entered the Great Dragon Gate, which is this massive stone gate that blocks off basically the entirety of the continent and kingdom of Draconis from the rest of the world. And as soon as they kind of got in, all the lights went out, and they heard a voice say, "Disarm yourselves." And that's where we ended last week. So, again, you guys, you're still in the little longboat that you guys rode in. You can tell that you're still on the water, but the water itself is very calm where you are. Like, there's no waves or anything, so the boat is floating but stationary. And that's really all you can tell. You can still smell kind of the sea smell, but it is complete and utter darkness all around you. And you've just heard a command from someone that said, "Disarm yourselves." So what would you like to do?
I undo my belt of weapons and let it drop to the ground.
So the rest of you guys hear this kind of clinkle, clinkle, thump.
I'll be wanting those back.
You, Eladrin, will make no demands of us.
Yeah, okay.
Willa takes the dagger she has and puts it down in the boat in front of her. And says, "We do not come making demands. We come with a warning."
As we have heard many times before. Bind her fingers. And Willow, you suddenly feel someone very roughly take your hands. And the hands themselves are huge compared to yours. And scaly. And you feel strings and things being woven in between your fingers and things like that to basically bind it so that you are completely incapable of doing any somatic components of magic.
And I assume the same is done to me too.
Well, you technically have not, quote-unquote, disarmed yourself. I don't know if you actually have a weapon. Do you have like a staff or anything that you keep with you?
No, I don't. Remember, I sacrificed it to save Mama?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you're just kind of standing there. To be honest, they don't know a whole lot of what to make of you, because Willow is obviously, like, you can tell Willow is a magic user a mile away.
Sure.
She exudes magic. She wears the robes of a magic user. She wears the robes of an Eladrin magic user, because that is the fashion that she would have been, she would have grown up with. So it's obvious to see that.
Can most of us even see anything?
You guys actually
Because
can't
it's
see.
so pitch black.
It's
You
not-
guys actually can't see anything. Even
Yeah.
those of you with dark vision, you see nothing. It is completely pitch black. Unless you have a skill that allows you to see in magical darkness, it is completely pitch black right now. So, but you can feel people getting in and out of the boat. You can feel movement around you. You know that there are other people around you. You just can't see any of them. Kata, you eventually feel two very large, rough hands take your arms and kind of force them behind you, and you feel metal shackles get clamped around them. And then you feel metal shackles get clamped around your ankles.
She's just a kid.
Avok, are you going to do anything? Fade. After you've dropped your belt, you hear this same voice go, "You still wear a weapon, Eladrin." And he said, the way he says the word Eladrin, you can almost hear him spit it out. He says it with such disgust.
It's been a long time since I said anything racist like that. Anywho, can we bring on some lights, guys? Because seriously, human can't see in darkness.
Disarm yourself, human.
Wow, really racist towards me too.
Avon.
Seriously, I had to do this like a couple days ago. I'm tired of giving away my axe. This is so fucking stupid. Fine.
So you do?
I better get this back. I'm serious. Seriously. Yeah.
So you take it, you hear it drop on the floor of the longboat. You then feel two pairs of very large, strong arms force your hands behind your back and put shackles on. You feel shackles go around your ankles.
Yay. Chained up again. What else is fucking new?
Eladrin, remove your weapon before we remove it for you.
Tell me what you're talking about, and I will comply.
The bladed weapon you carry on your arm.
There's no way you know that. It's a glove.
Nerd.
Oh, I've grown up trained to hate these people. I'm not going to be nice.
Fine. I need a wisdom saving throw from you.
Oh no.
This is +5? Okay.
Really?
That's a total of 9.
Okay. You feel your... Are you sure you don't, as a cleric, you don't have proficiency of wisdom saving throws?
You
Oh,
should.
it's a saving throw. My
Yeah,
bad.
not to say.
Well,
Like,
it's
you
still 13. It's not
You
great.
still fail, but
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, clerics have got to have wisdom saving
Yeah.
throws. Like, of any class, clerics have got to have wisdom saves.
Yeah.
You feel all of your muscles seize. As familiar... to be honest, I don't know if you've ever had this spell cast on you, but you've cast it on other people.
Is this
You would recognize it as a hold person spell.
is that considered a charm spell?
It not in the least. Hold person is it comes from the school of magic of fuck you. You are simply paralyzed, and so you feel your muscles seize, and then you feel them forcefully remove your gauntlet, and then you hear a shriek of pain, and no flash of light because you're in darkness, but you then hear the sound of it hitting the ground, and you can hear some swears. Do you speak Draconic, Fade?
No.
Yeah, you have no idea what they're saying, but you're relatively certain they're 4-letter words. You did feel a bit of... Because while you were wearing that, you have... Despite the barrier and everything, you have a connection to the Dark Lady. And so when it was removed, you felt that connection basically get cut off. But you did feel kind of a flare of energy as it was removed from your hand. And so you assume whoever removed it is not particularly pleased right now with themselves.
Mm.
And then you feel the familiar... they take string and they tie your fingers, and then manacles and things like that to prevent you from casting spells. They search you and they take your holy symbol, and you hear some murmuring when they find your holy symbol, because you keep it on you. When they find your holy symbol,
Shit, it's on my armor.
well, again, even in, with them being able to somehow see in darkness, if you can see in darkness, even you see in black and white, so patterns and stuff like that, you really wouldn't be able to see all that well.
Fair enough.
It's more outlines and stuff like that. Think kind of night vision. So it wasn't until they actually had an object that actually had shape that they could see. And you hear some murmurings, again, in this language that you don't speak. Does anyone here speak Draconic?
No. Elaine.
Elaine does. Elaine is being surprisingly silent right now.
Yeah.
For some bizarre
For
reason.
some reason.
Elaine may...
Well, they search her and find his dragon tail.
They actually don't. Because of his transformation, the dragon tail is in his arm, actually. Like it's this thing that kind of extends from his arm. And so he has two of them. He has these two like little pokey things poking out of each wrist. But they're attached. They look like they're part of him. So they've never seen a Dragon Knight before, so they have no idea, or especially not one like Elaine. So Elaine is just bound, and they have a bit of a hard time getting around these little pokey things in his wrist. But they're able to bind him, and Phage, you're bound and everything, and then almost like a switch is flipped. The darkness is gone, and you guys are overwhelmed for a second with bright light. Willow, I didn't hear. Do you speak Draconic or no?
No.
You do not. Okay. You were the only person I thought might speak Draconic, just because magic.
I mean, if I cast comprehend languages, but we didn't cast.
No, I know a lot of people that build magic user characters because Draconic is a magic language. Tend to use it. Again, Eladrin don't learn Draconic because they don't like them.
Yeah, and I figured I learned Elvish from the Eladrin and wouldn't have learned.
The two big magical languages are Elvish and Draconic. And magical runes and scripts are variations of those two languages generally. Or at least what you're familiar with.
Right.
Fade, Kata, Avok, and Elaine have seen a third script of magic that is not based on either Draconic or Elven when they were searching the Dwarven ruins. So.
Well, I've seen the books from that now too.
Oh yeah, but I don't think you actually saw the magical script. You just saw the map and the ancient Dwarven language. They actually saw magical script and stuff while they were down there. So
we've seen shit.
Yeah, man, it was amazing. So again, as you guys kind of blink and your eyes adjust to the lights, you realize you are in, I believe it's called a Bailey. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. It's a room that they can flood or reduce the water level to basically bring ships higher or lower.
A canal?
Sure, let's call it a canal then. That makes sense. There are words and they have meanings, and I can't remember any of them right now.
Aw.
But anyway, you guys, without realizing it, the water level, because as you guys look behind you, there's no way out. There's no doorway or anything like that. And as you kind of look around, you can see probably about 30 feet below the water level is the doorway you came through, which is shut now with a grate, like a portcullis type thing. So yeah, while the darkness happened, the water level apparently raised. And as you guys look around, you see you're surrounded by about 24 dragonborn, some of them holding spears levied at you, some of them holding magical foci, orbs and staves and wands and all pointing at it. And one kind of older-ish, you're not 100% sure because none of you have seen a dragonborn before. But you can see her scales seem a little bit more worn. You can see the little bit of hair that she does have is white. And you can see kind of wrinkles in portions of her face that are not covered in these very large, almost looking overbearing ceremonial type robes. And she has a rod that is glowing, that is pointed at you. And she points to Fade, and she goes, "You, Eladrin. We have not seen one of your kind for centuries. Why?"
Excuse me, centuries?
Yes. Does this surprise you that one such as myself would remember centuries previous?
Of course not.
Unlike your leaders, we do not drain the life of our subjects to sustain our own. So
Wait, what?
our lifespans are much more natural than your own.
Willow has gone a little bit white because a lot of things are suddenly making sense.
Why are you here? And as she keeps speaking, you see another dragonborn standing there, and he has this very finely crafted sword drawn and pointed at you, and you can see this really elaborate shield that almost looks like the claw of a dragon that he's just put on his arm. And you recognize his voice as the one that told you to disarm. He goes, "Mistress, we should not be talking to them. We should be killing them. You know this Eladrin would sooner slit your throat than listen to you. There's no reason we should be..." Patience. It has been 100 years since they have even attempted to breach the Dragon Gates, and now they come willingly. I want to know what nefarious plot they have decided. And so shall Gorthak. Take them, bathe them. They obviously have not bathed in quite a while. Then bring them before me. I will question them personally. And then she walks away, and a few of them are... Go ahead.
Do any of them? There's a couple things I want to say. Just do I see any of them with tails or without tails? Do these dragonborns are they like the Ravenites or just like your typical D&D dragonborns?
Some have tails, some have some. It's to be perfectly honest, it's really hard to tell. You see a couple with tails. As far as being able to tell if the other ones don't have tails or you simply can't see them from the angle that you're at, you're not 100% sure.
Okay, regardless. Um,
But they are
Okay.
a couple of the more rank and file ones are starting to very roughly start to pick you, move you guys. With like Willow and Kata, they basically pick you up.
Yeah, I figured.
Uh,
Ow.
and with Fade
And
and
probably
Adok
pick that up by the scruff.
they just do that. They bop you on the nose. And they start taking you further in. And as they take you to the back of this area, as you guys look around, you can see obviously the valves where the water would have poured in. You can see about 12 of them. And the canal itself is actually really, really long. Like you could fit, like you could probably fit the ship that you guys just came in this canal. It's that large. But as you guys look around, you see it's right now it looks to be set up more like a dry dock than anything else. Like you don't see a way for a boat or a ship to leave when the water is at this level currently. At the very top of the chamber are these very massive, which you assume are pipes of some sort. But their heads are those of dragon. They're sculpted out of metal. And you can see little bits of water dripping from them. And there's about a dozen, 6 on each side. And you can see there are doors. The room itself is about 300 feet long and about 100 feet wide. So it's a very, very large room. And you guys are being taken along the side, and about every 15 feet you'll see a door that's shut right now. And they're kind of dragging you around. And they eventually take you to the other end and take you through a side door. And then again, you guys are kind of shuffled out into bright light. And as you come out, your eyes take, again, a bit to adjust because you went from, inside to outside. And as you look around, you're kind of taken aback a little bit because as you come out, you see this massive city that is built on top of the water, on the sides. This city stretches so far you can't see the end of it. And while there's plenty of water and you can see ships and everything, very large ships traveling between different areas and stuff like that, you realize that the interior of this area that on all the maps is just a big old kind of natural harbor, looks to be just one giant solid city with waterways all throughout it and everything, and they've built into the water and everything like that. Like it's the largest city, dwarfs the Platinum City 1,000-fold. And you can see the architecture itself. Dragons are everywhere. You think it might be a motif that they enjoy for some odd reason. But as soon as you guys get a glimpse of the city, you're quickly rushed and separated. Willow and Kata, you were taken to one room, while Fade, Avok, and Elaine are taken to another. You feel people ripping off the armor that you have and any clothing that you have, and then just waves of viciously cold water. Not like ice water or anything like that, just, seawater come and smash you against you're kind of put into like cages for a second, and you get smashed with these waves of water, kind of very quickly getting all the gunk or anything else that might be on you. And then as you guys sit there or stand there shivering, again in separate rooms, but Willow and Kata, you're together, and then the three boys are together. You see very basic, you see towels and very basic robes laid in there, and the guards tell you to dry off and dress now. And they seem to be very impatient with you.
We're still bound, though, right?
You are, which is what makes this even more difficult.
Okay. Willow tries very hard to help Kata and also dress, but when your hands are tied together, you can't really put on a robe that has arms.
With my bigger size, I do try to help Willow get into her robe. Even though
They do. The two guards, whom you now realize are female. It's remarkably difficult to tell gender when they're in full plate. So it's remarkably difficult to tell gender in that. But you realize they are female. They do undo your bindings on one hand long enough for you to be able to slip the robes on. Basically, the robes are more of just like coverings than anything else. They don't really have sleeves. They're like cloaks with extra bits to to keep you modest. So
Ava's gonna turn one of those robes into a loincloth.
which
That's as modest as he gets.
they the guards, as you sit there and you try and just do the whole loincloth thing, because that's basically what you came in with. You had other pieces of like ramshackle bits of armor and stuff like that in random places, but for the most part, what is going on now? Steam, are you trying to download something when you're not supposed to? I've told you not to do that. Sorry, I'm dropping frames right now, trying to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Let's close you. Close you. There we go. Every so often, Steam will be like, "Oh, you're streaming? I totally need to download like 700 things." All right. So as you try to do that, the guards kind of manhandle you and put you into one of these robes. And again, they're speaking in Draconic, so you have no idea what they're saying. But they seem very intent that you're going to wear more than you came in with. So after all of that happens, you guys are brought together again. You're all wearing these, cloak, robe, kind of hybrid things, sleeveless. They're basically sleeveless dresses, with a hood and a cape. So they cover enough to keep you, they cover enough to keep you modest, but there's really no place that you could hide anything in them.
Is mine gnome-sized, or is it just impossibly large?
No, they have ones for people your size.
Yay!
And I assume they have ones for people my stature. As a
Yeah,
muscle.
like none of it is like super well fitting. Like all the garments are very, very loose fitting, but none of you guys are sitting there, in skin tight clothing that's going to rip if you flex too hard, or something that's going to make it difficult for you to walk.
Okay.
Well, more than
other
we
than the fact
already
that-
are, considering we're binded.
Yeah. So you guys see each other again, and you're being pushed forward down a hallway. And the hallway, the place you guys were in was there was a lot of wrought iron. It was a lot of black metal and things like that. Hey, I have to very quickly do some changes quickly here.
Hey, Ashley.
Hi.
I have no idea if she can hear me yet. Elaine, can you hear us?
She can.
I cannot hear her.
Yeah, neither can I.
Let's get rid of you. I'm going to real quick refresh because sometimes that fixes things. All right, sound check really quickly. Elaine, can you hear me?
Still muted, I guess.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, you'll figure it out as we go. As soon as you can speak, you will speak. You're in Draconis.
I'm just hold on. I'm
That's fine.
setting things up because I forgot. Hold on.
Absolutely fine. You're in
But I'm here.
Draconis. They've taken your armor.
Oh no.
They
What
bathed you.
Mhm.
And bathed you rather roughly by just basically slapping you with water. And now you are in this kind of dress robe type thing. And you're being taken to... everyone else is forced to disarm themselves due to the fact that your dragon tail literally comes out of your wrist, both of them now. They didn't know you have weapons on you. Surprisingly enough, they've never met a dragon knight quite like you before. So you are technically the only person that has weapons on you.
Okay.
But they don't know that. They just know that you have something growing out of your wrist that looks very bizarre. And you are manacled behind your back and have manacles around your ankles. So...
What did you guys do?
Nothing.
Nothing. This is what happens when we walk like through the front door of a.
Yeah, they ordered us to disarm ourselves.
And
I
you
talk
guys
shit.
did. Fade,
Yeah.
Fade pissed him off because that's what Fade does.
Oh, God damn it.
Of course he does.
Badly. It could have been worse. They just,
They've
shut
all
up.
Yeah, I mean,
cracked jokes,
Fade
as
could.
always.
The last time you guys were confronted and told us to disarm yourselves,
Things went
a lot of
lot
people
worse.
died. So, I mean, at this point, no one has died. I think you're at a net gain at this point.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
So as you guys are going through again, the area that you were in was a lot of black iron and wrought iron and definitely not built for comfort. And as they're kind of forcing you through different places, you're looking out through windows and you're seeing glimpses of this kind of city, this continent mega city that you guys are in. And every time you get another look, you're even more perplexed. Fade, you specifically, you can see floating platforms and things like that that are powered by magic and things like that you're used to seeing, just never not controlled by Eladrin. In general, only the Eladrin would use magic so freely. And you can tell that the magic that they use here, while still arcane magic, has a bit of a different feel to it.
Right on.
So you guys are being kind of rushed through, and you're getting to nicer and nicer. You notice that as they push you in and out of buildings and through places very, very quickly, you're getting to nicer and nicer parts of this particular part of the city. Again, this city is yes, Fade?
So I understand. Where are my hands bound? Like, I get that they're bound, but like, are they in front of me?
For you, because you are a spellcaster, they would have bound them in front of you, and your fingers would have been tied together. It's going to be really hard to see because of my tremor, but they would have been tied like this, with your thumbs tied like this.
Okay. So they gave me some dumb rope that I'm not into. I'm going to just on this walk, just try to get some blood drawn and draw the Dark Lady symbol on this robe, just to rep.
Okay.
Oh Lord.
As you draw blood, and you start to draw on the robe, you feel a stinging sensation from the back of your head, as something hard and blunt smacks you, and as you hit the ground, you feel a relatively familiar magical sense, because you've had it used on you before, as prestidigitation cleans the robes instantly.
Mm.
And you see another Dragonborn come up, touch your finger, and the wound closes.
Healing.
I just look at the
And
one
then-
that heals me, shake my head, keep walking.
And they keep speaking in Draconic, which Elaine, I believe you speak Draconic, but you were the only one.
And what are they saying?
Right? Or, Elaine, do you not speak Draconic?
I mean, didn't the Dragon Knight thing make it?
Yeah,
where-
I think theoretically, you communicate with your Dragon Master in Draconic, so you should. If I don't have it in the multi-classing as one of the things that you learn, it should be.
Yeah, I'm about to pull it up and check.
You do. I'm going to tell you right now. If it's not in the thing, let me know and I'll change it in the next revision. But anyway, so you you can hear that they're talking about, and they're saying horrible things about Fade. Things that you
Of
would
course they
never
are.
repeat. And they keep talking about how much you guys smell and how strange it is that everything is going on. And then when Fade starts drawing on himself, they call him a savage and a barbarian.
I look at it.
He's multi-classed.
Yes, you have just multi-classed into barbarian.
1.3 the latest, or did you update it anymore?
I believe 1.4 is the latest.
Because I have 1.3 and it doesn't have the language on there.
I believe
But I'll-
it's actually under the first level. It's actually in the class itself as part of your first level perks thing as you learn Draconic.
Let
But
me
anyway.
scroll back up then. Yeah.
You know Draconic. And so
Yeah.
you're getting to nicer places, and eventually you guys are put in front of a building with two golden dragons flanking its entrance and a large staircase.
Those things look familiar.
And they start kind of pushing you up it. And the dragons themselves are not the gold dragon that you guys have seen. Like an actual gold dragon, they have like whiskers, and their wings are actually they connect all the way down to their tail, and so they're very distinctive and very easy to tell. And these golden dragon statue things are not so much gold dragons as they are dragon type creatures. They're on all fours. They don't have any wings.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
You guys haven't seen them before, but they look
Yeah.
Those are drakes.
they look mean. If they weren't statues, you'd probably be afraid of them.
Yeah, of course I would.
And they're kind of pushing you up, and eventually you guys you go through into this building, and it opens up into this giant foyer kind of thing, and at the very far end you can see kind of It looks almost like a throne, but it's not a chair. It's a cushion on the ground with like armrests. So it's kind of bizarre, and it has an ornate back behind it, but it's flat with the ground. So a creature that was sitting in it would have to like sit cross-legged or sit on their legs or something like that in order to sit in it. And sitting in that chair is the older dragonborn that you guys saw before. She's still holding the rod pointing at you. And she goes, "Bring them before me." And so you're all brought in, and in common, you guys hear from behind you, "Kneel for the governess."
I do so.
Okay.
Yep, same.
I'm going to assume, Fade, you do not.
No, I'll kneel. That's fine.
Okay.
Do
Avok,
I have to?
as you say that, Avok, you feel a hit to the back of your knees as they bend forward, and you slam into the ground on your knees.
I'm really sick of this shit.
And as you say that, you feel a burning sensation on the side of your face as someone has slapped you, which you were not expecting in the least. And you hear one of the Dragonborn, again in common, go, "You will watch your tongue when you speak with the governess."
Well, since I'm talking to you, you hit like a wussy, just so you know.
And he brings his hand up to smack you again, and you feel more than you hear this wave of sound come towards you as the governess goes, "Silence! God, you will know your place. These are my prisoners. They will be treated how I choose to treat them." And he immediately kind of bows his head and goes, "Yes, my governess," and steps back into the rank and file. "You, human,
Yep.
you may wish to keep your mouth shut for more than 10 seconds at a time. For while you are in my presence, you will only be punished when I deem it necessary. As soon as you leave it, it is up to your guards to decide exactly when you deserve punishment and what kind it should take. Antagonizing them will not help."
No, but it's fine.
Willow gives Avok the biggest mom look she could possibly give.
What?
And then she kind of
Kind of
shifts
like
her.
what Pike is.
She shifts her attention a little bit, and she turns to Elaine. She goes, "You, half-breed, what is your name?"
Elaine.
"You carry within you a power I have not felt in a very, very long time. Tell me, who is your master?"
Did we decide on a name?
I
What did
actually
I
gave
write
him a name.
down?
It was really, really long, and I don't actually remember it, and I was hoping you
Like-
had written it down.
I wrote it down the first time he was introduced. It was Athlanel.
Yeah, Athanel, that's his name.
Okay.
For the life of me, I meant to go back and watch that episode just to pick up the name again, because it's been like a year and a half, guys. I said his name once. You can't expect me to remember a name a year and a half later.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad I wrote it down then.
Yeah. His name is Athanel, right?
Athlanel was what I heard
Athlanel,
when
yeah.
I wrote it down. So.
No, that's fine. Athanel. It sounds draconic. We can go with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what draconic sounds like, but we'll decide that later. So you say that, she goes, "That's peculiar. I had heard after his capture by the tieflings that he had perished. Does your master still live?"
He does.
That is good news indeed. It's been many years since he ruled these lands, and while his greed would sometimes get the best of him, his rule was just. How is it a half-breed came to be the chosen Dragon Knight of a gold dragon? Our understanding is you killed off all the dragons. Well, half of your bloodline did.
It was kind of a spur of the moment thing. We found him weak and captured beneath some crazy Eladrin's lab. And the only way that he would have managed to get out was to grant somebody his power to help him escape. And I happened to be it.
Wow. You have been touched by something very dark, have you not?
Yeah, and I still don't quite understand it.
Well, I have felt similar power from very evil creatures. We would consider it a kindness if you would not drain the blood of any of my subjects. And then she turns and looks at Fade. You, defiler. Why are you disgracing our country with your presence? We have left you alone to slowly choke the life out of this land for over 400 years.
Oh, do I talk now?
Yes.
I request asylum.
Ah! Another one. Well, apparently the Council of One is not nearly as charismatic as I seem to remember he was. Let me guess, you were one of his best friends as well. Maybe his brother this time.
No, I'm nobody, but he's been after me for some reason, and I don't know why.
Really? How do you know the Council of One?
Personally, I don't. But he set up at least one event where we were supposed to die. My friends and I slipped out from under his thumb.
Really? An Eladrin working with a half-breed, a former human slave, a gnome, and To be honest, I have no idea what to make of you, little one. You smell of the forest and have very strange mannerisms. Were it not for the fact that I know human anatomy fairly well, I would say you were more beast than human. Why do you travel with this rather unlikely bunch, Eladrin?
I would never presume to offer advice, but I request you not judge my companions too quickly. They are all much better people than I.
Obviously, they're not Eladrin.
But together we have been fighting my people for some time now, trying to stop this.
Really? We have heard news of your rebellion that now lies in ashes.
If I may, Governess,
Yes, small one.
do you know how the rebellion was crushed into ashes?
The Eladrin pulled some plot. We do not know the details. We simply saw the fire and destruction. We could see it from the top of the dragon spire. The destruction was so complete. Whatever you did to annoy your former compatriots, Eladrin, was very effective.
What happened is a threat to you as well, Down. I know that may sound presumptive, but if I may explain.
I eagerly await some explanation of how the Eladrin, who are so befuddled and weak-minded, they have allowed one of their kind to live for centuries while the rest of them barely grip on to life for more than 100 years. How they could ever be a threat to the mighty armies of Draconis.
They have developed a new weapon.
They develop new weapons all the time.
Here's the thing. Does your repertoire of weaponry include ships that can fly? Because if not, they have those.
And she looks at you, and she pauses for a moment. She's like, you are mistaken.
No, he is not.
Then you are delusional. Either way, what you describe is not possible. We have, for years, our sorcerers have experimented with gifting inanimate objects flight. Carpets, brooms, these are things that you can make fly with great effort and cost. A ship?
With great effort and cost, yes. But against my will, I helped design them.
So
I know how they work.
you mean to tell me you have helped design
She said against her will.
Human, I do not need your commentary at this point. And you guys suddenly, in the middle of the sentence as you're speaking, no sound is coming out anymore. And you can hear nothing around you except for her voice, which is really weird. I need no commentary from any of you. You have given the most destructive, xenophobic, society in history the ability to fly their troops anywhere they want, rain down destruction, and then you decide to come to my city and brag about it? And as she says that, she kind of waves her hand and sounds start working the way it's supposed to again.
Not to brag. No. To warn. It was not by choice that those ships were created. And I'm now doing everything I can to see that they never harm anyone again. These people I'm traveling with were part of the rebellion. This Eladrin is the only Eladrin that has ever shown me any kindness in my life, and actually saved my life, and I owe him for that. Now, whether or not you choose to listen to anything we say, you should know that you are in danger, and I am sure that they intend to use these ships against you. So it would be wise to prepare, and if you are willing, I am willing to give you all of the knowledge I have on them.
And you see her kind of sit back, and she seems to be thinking for what seems like hours, when in all actuality, barely a minute or two has passed. But you guys are just sitting there on your knees, waiting for a response. And she goes, No, it is simply not possible. Our spies would have known long before this technology was available to you that you were creating it, and we would have destroyed it. No, you are delusional. You are lying to me. You are trying to get something from the Empire of Draconis. What is it? What is your end goal, Eladrin? And she shifts her focus back to Fade.
Our end goal is to stop the Eladrin once and for all. I understand how ridiculous that sounds coming from me, but I have seen more than I was taught. I've seen more than I should. I've spoken with beings that I should not have.
Oh, we recognize your devotion to the Dark Lady. You court death, and yet you wish for us to take you seriously. And then from behind, you guys hear a sound that you were completely not expecting. You hear kind of a giggle. And then you hear a very, very smooth voice go, Oh, my gosh. Eldon, you do know how to make people feel welcome, don't you? And you see the governess kind of freeze, and you can almost kind of recognize the expression of just annoyance on her face. Tolan, these are my chambers. You are not welcome uninvited. And from behind you, you guys hear footsteps and jingling. And you hear the guards kind of move apart, and these very, very light footsteps, much lighter than it sounds like should be happening from just the amount of jingling and the size of the person. And in front of you walks an Eladrin.
Oh no.
Oh, god damn it.
And he sits there and goes, Really? I can't believe this is what you're doing. They travel all the way from the Platinum City to see you, and you think there's some sort of plot from the Eladrin. Oh, you are far too much to think my countrymen would ever be that stupid? I mean, let's be honest. They've been testing the Dragon Gates for, what, 100 years it took them to realize they couldn't break it? And now you think they're going to send a half-breed, a disgraced cleric, a slave,
Oh, for fuck's sake!
and some strange beast girl and a gnome, and somehow they're going to take down your empire. Really, this is simply the funniest thing I have heard all day. Tolan, you will be silent in my presence. Do I have to remind you who has given me asylum here? Under whose authority it is I am allowed access to whatever I deem appropriate to keep your city safe from my former countrymen? And you can see her starting to seethe a little bit. And he turns around and he goes, "Guards, remove their bindings. They are not the danger you should be worried about." And the guards seem hesitant at first, and they get this very reluctant nod from the governess. And your restraints are held off. And he goes over to whom you assume is the guard captain because he's in the most elaborate armor. And he goes over and he just kind of leans on him, again, looking to annoy him more than anything else. And he just leans in. "Do be a darling. Would you go and fetch their items for me? I'm certain they would like to have them back now that we can be sure that they are here to somehow destroy the country. We should probably give them the items they need to do it with. Don't you think, my good man?" And again, you can see the guard kind of shaking in his armor, and he looks to the governess, and again, reluctantly, she nods, and he walks off.
Avok whispers over to Fade. Do you know this guy?
Do I?
Never seen him before in your life.
Seems familiar. Can't place a name.
You do recognize something that you haven't seen in a very, very long time. He has wrinkles around his eyes, and white hair that is obviously from old age. And to your knowledge, by the time the weird thing with how elves age in general is you age kind of like a human up until you hit like your 20s and 30s, and then your aging just basically stops for like 80 years. And then in like 5 years, you grow like 80 years old instantly over that 5 years, and then die. And there are not many Eladrin that make it to old age. Generally, there's enough war and there's enough other things that happen that you know they'll generally die before them. But those that do make it to old age, they age massively rapidly and then they die very quickly. And you can tell that he's old, but he doesn't have any of the frailness that you're used to seeing with the elderly. especially, you know, ones that have wrinkles and white hair and stuff I like. By the time you start seeing the physical signs of old age, they have, you know, 6 months left to live. And while he doesn't seem, you know, particular, like, you don't think he's going to be doing backflips anytime soon, he seems to kind of saunter through the room without any difficulty whatsoever. He doesn't seem to be in any pain. So it's very bizarre. And he comes over to you, and he kind of grabs you by the arm and lifts you up. And you notice that he's got some strength to him. He's not an incredibly strong person. And you are more muscular than most, so you're a bit on the heavy side for an Eladrin. Wearing heavy armor and stuff like that, you would naturally be a little bit bulkier. And so he takes a little bit of effort to kind of help you to your feet. He goes, "Come with me. These Dragonborn are incredible and can be wonderfully nice, but every so often their prejudices get the better of them. As has been said, my name is Tolan. You have never met me, have never heard of me. You have no idea who I am. But understand, I know more of your history than anyone other than the Council of One. Who, by the way, that's not even his real name. It's Christopher. This whole Council of One thing is just a power trip. He has always simply been Christopher. He wasn't even that high-born, to be perfectly honest. He was a rank-and-file commander that got lucky. But we can discuss that later. Again, my name is Talon, at your service. And I think it would be best if we left the presence of the governess. She has many more important matters that concern her. And I sincerely doubt she's going to take anything you say to heart. And behind her, or behind him, you hear the governess go, "These are still my prisoners. Again, do I have to remind you where my authority comes from? They are no longer your prisoners. They are my guests. They will be transported along with myself to my estate, and that will be the last we will hear of it. Unless you would prefer that I speak with Gorthank himself. I'm certain he would love to be interrupted right now. I believe he is currently meeting with the Ministry for War. As we speak, I can simply teleport us over there, and we can have a lovely conversation with him." And she holds her hand up. "Tolan, one day, and she kind of waves off. And he goes, "I understand. Those garments are simply ghastly. It will probably take them hours to get your things to my estate. It's not that they don't know where they are. They do. They simply don't want to bring them. They're very good at being passive-aggressive. Why else do you think they've just stayed in their cities for so long? Passive-aggressiveness is taught in their schools. They learn it before they can speak. They are masters of the craft. If only their passive-aggressive nature could be used to power their magic, they would take over the multiverse."
Okay, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I
What
understand
is
this
going on?
must be very confusing for you. It certainly was for me when I first got here, but again, Christopher could not be trusted. So I left, and when I got here, I was able to show that I could be useful enough to keep around, and this is not the place to speak of it. Come, We will go to my estate. I will get you much better clothing, and we can have a meal. It looks like, especially that when he gestures towards Kata, that one apparently has not eaten well in years. See what we can do to fatten her up, shall we? And he kind of takes Kata and he places his hand on the kind of like upper small of your back and kind of brings you along with him. And Willow, he kind of, between your shoulder blades, he puts his other hand and kind of leads both of you forward away from the rest of the group as he just keeps chattering on about the city itself, pointing out various landmarks and things like that. What would you guys like to do?
I start to follow, but I hang back a little bit and look at Elaine. I think I'm in love.
Why would you look at me? Why do I want to know this? Okay, good for you.
I think you broke Jody.
Yay, we broke the DM.
Yay.
Oh man, wow. Oh. Okay. So, the two ladies are kind of treated to their own little personal tour, and he speaks a little bit about the history of some of the buildings. He's like, oh, that one over there, that's relatively new. I actually had a little bit. I knew the architect, so I was able to add a little bit of flair to it. Told him to add those buttresses up there. Those were my idea. You know, I really have had a rather large effect on society as a whole since I've been here. I've been able to influence fashion, some of their magical abilities, and most importantly, I've been able to get them to actually start cooking real food. I mean, certainly the Dragonborn, I guess we could call it menu, is unique, but let's be serious. The best food ever created by mortal hands were made by elves. For elves. Anyway, I'll be able to show you much more as soon as we get to my estate, and we will have a lovely, I've already sent word ahead, we will have a lovely feast prepared. We can all sit down and eat and discuss this whole nonsense of flying ships. Do you know how long he's been trying to do that? I told him it would never work. I told him it was physically impossible. And yet he's like, no, I'm going to make it work. But we can discuss all of that over dinner. And you guys are kind of ushered onto kind of like a barge, like a sail barge kind of thing. And he's been, again, spending almost the entirety of his time with the two girls. Like, he's almost completely ignoring Avok, Elaine, and Fade as he's gesturing to different things and talking about different things. And eventually you guys enter into kind of like a private dock underneath a building. He points up. He goes, "If you would like, right through that door, right over there, you will find 5 rooms. Each one will have a bed. On the bed will be some clothing for you, something much more comfortable than those burlap sacks they have you in. And then once you are dressed, simply ask the servant outside. He will take you to the dining hall, and we can discuss everything that has happened. All right?" And he goes up to Fade, and he just kind of claps your cheek a little bit. "Okay, Muffin?"
Yes.
So, and he just kind of looks at you. He's like, "Not quite the reaction I was hoping for, but Whatever, to each his own. I will see you in 15 minutes. And he just kind of wanders off.
As he's like turning away to like, I like going for a hug, but then sees turning, so I kind of stop.
Yeah. So he walks off, and there are human servants, which you're kind of surprised about. They're decked in like the entire house is decked in gold. Willow, you being well versed in transmutation magic, you would know that it's gold plating and gold paint and stuff like that. It's not actual solid gold or anything like that. But even the servants and things like that have like gold makeup under their eyes, and like have gold stripes painted on them and gold lipstick, and like gold just seems to be a thing here. And their outfits are white and gold, and so one of the human servants kind of bows very low and goes, "If you would, please follow me." And she kind of opens the door and kind of bows and waits for you guys to go through it.
Okay.
I go through.
Okay. I'm assuming everyone else goes through.
Yeah.
The servant girl.
Uh-huh.
I can't. Describe her, please.
She's relatively thin. Not a ton of muscle mass, so obviously not someone that does a lot of heavy labor. She has dark black hair that's cut at the shoulder, and again, gold. Like anywhere where you would think like gold eyeshadow, gold lipstick. Again, they have these two strips of gold paint underneath each eye, and then a strip going straight up of this like gold paint or gold makeup on their face. And then she's wearing relatively form-fitting kind of gold vestments, like a gold tunic that's kind of cut to obviously tailored to her. So nothing in she would she's not unattractive, let's say that. But
Okay.
she obviously is not someone that has ever done a day's labor. Like, she is relatively thin. Her hands are soft.
Okay.
Gold fingernails polish.
I get it. It's pretty much gold member.
Yeah. The only
Okay.
thing they're missing is the gold body glitter.
That's fair. All right. Yeah, Avok will be the last to walk in, but before he walks in, it's been a very long time.
She only comes up to about your chest, like, because you're relatively tall, right?
What's that one? I'm 5'10".
5'10". Oh, so actually, yeah, she would come up to like the top of her head would be like at your nose. She's
Okay,
probably
well,
like 5'4", 5'6", somewhere in there.
Gotcha. It's been a very long time since Avok has interacted with a female of hit. Well, aside from Kata, who he considers a little sister, this is like it's gonna be.
Love is in the air. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying.
There,
know if
there,
it was
it might be
love.
possible. Well, hang on. Just so you know, you got some gold stuff on your face.
And she goes, "Yes, the Master Talon prefers it. This is." Yes, I know it's there. Please, would you go through the doorway. I have things I need to explain to your group.
Uh, yeah, sure. Okay. Avok walks in.
Okay. And so you guys are in kind of like a hallway, and she points to 5 doors, like the first 5 doors in the hallway, and she goes, behind each one is, and she kind of directs each one of you to a doorway, and she goes, you will find clothing that is appropriate for your size and build. If you would prefer any sort of makeup or to freshen up, simply ask, and we shall bring a washing bin. We have stylists at the ready if you would prefer to look your best for your dinner with Master Talon. Is there anything else I can get for you?
I guess.
Lilith just smiles and says, no, thank you.
Well, dinner will be served in 15 minutes, whether you are there or not. And while the master is, while he is generous, he probably will not wait for you to eat. He prefers his meals hot. So I would recommend haste if you wish to have a hot meal.
Yeah, that's no problem. No problem.
Can I cast sending to this lady and say, "Can you bring a little bit of that dust to my room?"
She, without changing her facial features or without even acknowledging you at all, answers you with, yes, of course.
Okay.
So do you guys all go into your rooms?
Yeah.
Before she leaves, Ava.
She's not going anywhere. She
Oh,
she
she's not.
literally is just standing there waiting for you guys to go into your rooms.
Okay, understood. Before Avok walks into his room, turns around towards her. I'm Avok, by the way.
And she you can see her kind of suppressing a laugh. I am Adriana. It's a pleasure to meet you, Master Avok.
Oh my god, I'm a master.
No.
It is a and you see her starting to get just the slightest bit frustrated. It's a formality. I am Yes, you are a master. Congratulations. Is there anything else you need from me, Master Avok?
Perhaps a title.
Master Poobah.
Again, I'm not that stupid.
You're a barbarian. That's all that matters.
You all do know, like, Master is simply like the formal version of Mister. It doesn't denote rank or anything. Generally, to be perfectly honest, generally it's used to refer to children with titles that are too young to like the children of like lords and things like that. You would call Master.
Avok's aware of that. It's just he's never been treated
Oh
like
no,
that.
never,
So,
never in your life.
yeah, so this is like he's a little giddy. Yeah. Anyways, okay, well, I'll be right out. Quickly turns and goes right into his room.
Okay. So as you guys get into your room, they're relatively similar. They have a large king size bed. They have again everything trimmed in gold. Gold seems to be a theme.
Yeah.
There's a gold basin with a looking glass, a very large looking glass, on one side of the room with a pitcher next to it filled with water, so you can wash your face if you need to. Shortly after you get into your room, Fade, you hear a very soft knock on the door. What would you like to do? and you see a young man standing there with a small vial and a paintbrush. And in the vial is the gold kind of paint that they seem to use for everything from lipstick to like their fingernail polish and that. So he simply nods his head and puts his hand forward to offer it to you without saying anything.
How exactly does Talon like his friends to have this on?
Oh, well, Lord Talon, he this is how he prefers his servants. To be perfectly honest, I actually have never met any of his friends. He tends to rub people the wrong way here.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, he can be somewhat forward, and the Dragonborn in general tend to be much more reserved. So but if you would like, I can help you apply it so that you can look like one of the servants. I don't
Oh
know
no.
why you would want to. I mean, we are paid well for our service. I I do not regret my job in any way, shape, or form, but it is not a job of standing by any
Is this
definition.
real gold flakes? Is really my question.
I am not sure. I know this is what we are given.
Okay, thanks.
You're
Fade
welcome.
puts it in his pocket, hoping to barter it for something later, since he has no money at all.
And then he very quietly closes the door. So on each of the beds is a set of a very formal tunic and pants for the men, and a blouse and a very formal dress for the girls. That as you guys start to kind of look at them, is almost tailor made for you. Like it's obvious that it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close. Like it fits very, very well.
Um, the tunics, are there sleeves on them?
Yes,
All right.
sleeves, and they big billowy shoulders.
Okay. Avok looks at the tunic. As my old comrade Marisha would say, sleeves are bullshit.
And as you rip it, the first thing that you notice is it's much more difficult to rip than you would have thought.
I will make a strength check if required.
Oh no, you can still do it. You notice that it's very, very high quality cloth. But you are able to rip it. One of the shoulders rips better than the other, so you have to kind of adjust a little bit. And you've got little bits of cloth and stuff like that, little tatters on it left. But for the most part, you now have your sleeveless tunic.
That's better.
Am I somehow compelled to put on the dress? Possibly getting any flashbacks?
You're not compelled, but it's been a very, very, very long time since you've worn a dress. So as you sit there at first, you kind of you look at it and you sniff it a little bit and try and figure out how it is, and then you slowly you remember you're kind of taken back to a memory of your mother dressing you for a formal event, and kind of sitting there and she's like, all right, arms up, little one, and you put your arms up and she slowly slipped the almost Lolita style dress on you, and she zipped up the back and everything like that, and then she just kind of squeezes your nose. She goes, now aren't you just the prettiest little girl that's going to be there tonight. And so you have a basic understanding of how you would get into this dress.
Okay.
But again, you haven't worn something like this for over a decade. So, or anything close to it. Like you tended to wear relatively minimalist clothing. So this will be the most clothing you have worn in a decade.
Eh. Remembering that, I decide to put on the dress, and for once, she actually looks pretty.
Mm-hmm. And you see yourself in the mirror, and the gold kind of brings out some of the just natural light highlights in your hair that you had from being in the sun and things like that. And it's very flattering on you.
I get dressed super quick and try to go out of the room and wait for everyone else.
Yeah, I'll go to the dinner.
Okay. So Kata, you come out. Fade comes out. Elaine, do you do anything other than put on your tunic and everything? This would have. This is the nicest clothing you have ever seen. You've dressed in rags for most of your life.
Oh yeah, no, he's super hype. He gets
Okay.
dressed. Fancy stuff. Is there anything fancy laying around the room too?
Yeah. Everything is gold in the room. There's a golden hairbrush.
Oh my god.
Like you are surrounded. There are no pockets in your pants though. And there's no room. Like the tunic is completely full with stuffing and stuff like that to make it look as nice as it does, and with all the gold thread and everything. That there's nowhere you could hide anything. And you have just the slightest instant at first thinking that maybe that was done on purpose.
They're safe this time. I'll walk out of the room.
If you want to, you could attempt to try and hide something on your person, but
No,
it's going to
no.
require a pretty impressive sleight of hand check.
I could probably do it, but no, I'll pass.
Okay. So you're in your tunic again. You're surprised with how nicely it fits you. And again, this is the nicest you have ever looked in your life. You guys all kind of step out, and Adriana is standing there, and she kind of curtsies to all of you. She goes, "If you would follow me, and Avok, I need a perception check from you."
Okay. 17.
You, as you're walking along, Fade bumps into you.
Oh, hey man, what happened to your shirt? And I try to touch the frills of his shoulder.
And as he does that, you notice it looks like he's trying to palm something in his left hand that kind of the light glints off of, and you can see it's golden in color. You can't really tell what it is, but there's obviously something that he's trying to keep hidden in his left hand as he's messing with your tunic.
Do you want me to mend this for you real quick?
No, it's my fashion choice, and I don't know what you're doing, but be careful.
Yeah, no problem, man. Oh, I think you got something on your eye, and I try to just wipe off on his cheek a little bit.
Okay. So as he comes forward, you notice that his thumb is gold, very similar to the other ones. And as he kind of wipes it on your cheek, you feel...
I grab his hand.
Okay.
Fade, tread lightly.
What?
Avok takes his thumb and runs it down the middle of his face.
Those
As
are
in Fade's face.
I was about to say those are what are called undefined pronouns. Okay. So now, Fade, you have a large golden line going down the front of your face that gets lighter as it goes down.
Hell
Looks
yeah.
good.
Hell yeah, then I do one of these.
Okay. So Fade now looks like looks like a I can't even what were they called? Party kids from the 90s.
Yeah, frat boys.
Rave.
No, there was again, this is going to date me, but there was a group of people call themselves party kids back in like the early 90s, and they dressed very bizarrely and they wore bright colors and things like that, and they went to
Pep rallies.
no, they threw parties. They didn't go to raves or things like that. Like they threw parties and stuff like that, and there was this whole culture. There was lots of drugs involved. It was the
Makes
90s.
Of course.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Fade looks sparkly and marvelous. And the rest of you guys look great, and you're led through a series of hallways. And well before you get to the room, you can smell food. And Fade, you recognize is it instantly. This is traditional Eladrin cuisine. This is not only traditional Eladrin cuisine. This is good Eladrin cuisine. Like you have eaten more mundane things. Like anytime you were in the temple, you were eating kind of more plain things. And you have eaten nicer things. This is by far probably the highest quality food you have ever eaten. And so as you guys get there, you see this long table that can probably seat close to 20 people. And at the far end, you can see Talon sitting there with a plate full of food going, "Please, please, come in. You took far too long. I was about to start eating without you. Quick, quick, before the food gets cold." And there are cooked meats, there's vegetables, there are baked goods. I mean, just about anything you can imagine. There are sweets. You can see there's mulled wine. There are pitchers of ale. I mean, there's literally a little bit of everything on this table.
I'm really tired of conjured monostrudel bullshit, so I just start eating like a pig.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you fill up a plate.
Yeah, so does Kata.
Okay.
Ava takes a piece of meat, bites it,
Very well cooked.
and then starts digging in.
Okay.
He digs in. Yeah.
And then Elaine, this is more food than you've ever seen in one place.
I don't know what to do with myself.
Haven't had this luxury since.
You're
fucking
starting to use
what?
your dragon tails to just get food from across the table.
That would be awesome.
Probably
While
not.
the rest of you are eating, he's turning into a tentacled monstrosity as he's just whipping food around. So as you guys are eating, you have a really, really good meal. You get the effects of a long rest.
Oh, that's so good.
The food is the best that you've ever had. As soon as you guys start feeling full, you start noticing that the food is disappearing as servants come in and just start taking it away, kind of just taking their cues from you guys. And you notice that Talon did not eat anywhere near as much as you guys did, and he kind of just very patiently waited for you guys to finish, not interrupting or anything like that. And so as you guys are all kind of stuffed and, a few pounds heavier and nursing food babies, Talon goes, "So, you," and he points to Fade, "I don't think I've gotten your name yet."
I think I did. Fade won't have a family because they're all dead. He hates the Eladrin, so he's going to introduce himself as a humble servant to the Dark Lady.
Oh, that is quite a mouthful. There must be something shorter I can call you.
Well, they call me Fade, so I guess you could do
Fade
that.
it is. Wonderful. Fade, you must tell me what of the gossip happening in the Platinum City. Who is cheating on who, with whom? I must know. It has been centuries since I have gotten my earful.
Wait, what?
Uh,
Well, you must know something. You obviously have a little bit of noble upbringing. You're a ladron, for Pete's sake. You can't tell me that they didn't have something to talk about. I mean, what did you do with your life? Oh, you're a cleric.
Did you
Blasted.
just say centuries as in multiple?
Yes. You would not be aware of that, of course, because obviously Christopher needs his, well, let's call it beauty sleep, I guess is the best thing you could call it. You have no idea what it is that you've been doing, do you?
No.
Oh, this is simply lovely. The rest of you, well, unfortunately, the humans here are far less long-lived than us. But gnomes, you, well, if it weren't for Christopher, you would probably have longer lifespans as well. He's a bit of a bastard, that one. The reason he calls himself the Council of One always has to make a scene about everything. Everything is about him. Only he can lead the Empire, make sure that the Eladrin are not destroyed by whomever he's decided is destroying us this week. Last week it was the Dark Elves, you know. The century before, it was the Genasi, or the elementals, or the changelings. It changes whenever he feels like it. I simply got tired of it.
What the fuck are you talking about?
None of you have heard any of this yet. I keep forgetting. They destroyed all records of what really happened, didn't they?
mm-hmm.
You have no idea who it is that you were serving for so long. You have no idea who it is that you've been fighting, do you?
A royal prick.
No, actually, not at all. There is not an ounce of noble blood in his entire body. In fact, if you were to take his entire family line and wring them dry, you would be hard-pressed to find a drop of noble blood among the lots.
How do you know this?
Oh, because I came with him. I was his friend. I was...
Came with him?
We were in the same cell for, well, let's see, must have been 230 years. Yes, I remember exactly the day that we escaped. Well, I say escaped. They call it conscription. But Christopher, he was certain he was going to make sure that it never happened again, and he was good at what he did, to be perfectly honest.
What was that?
He was, well, he eventually became a sergeant and had men under his command and fought in the elemental wars. He was fierce and powerful. I don't think they quite expected him to do what it is that he did. He had a charisma to him. He inspired people. He was very charming. And then,
Could you?
oh, I'm sorry. What was it you were going to say, Fade?
Did he seem touched as though he was being guided by some sort of beacon?
Not to my knowledge, though he was touched. Not by a god, and unless it was a god of insanity. Maybe the god of narcissism, who knows? But he got this idea into his head. If he could simply cut off their source of reinforcements, if he could simply stop the Dark Elves, the Tieflings, the Aesmar, the Chosen, if he could stop all of it, then he could save everyone, was his big pitch. Oh,
Avok is
how
looking
well
at
that
him.
worked.
From what?
Avok's looking at him like, what the fuck is he still talking about? This makes no sense to Avok.
Willow is fascinated and is suddenly understanding even more.
Well, it all turned belly up, unfortunately. As soon as he enacted the barrier and he felt its power, that was it. He was hooked. He found he enjoyed the power. He enjoyed the control he had. And there was enough of us that came with him that he was able to populate and build quite an empire. I mean, he took over half of the Kael Isles within 20 years and then just encouraged the population to increase. And no one really questioned when people started dying early. It just sort of happened. There was so much warfare going on. They blamed the Wood Elves. They kept coming in and killing off people. It's not what really happened, but that was the lie we kept being told. We couldn't tell them the truth. Obviously, they would have revolted. So we hid it. We made sure no one was aware, and within a few generations, there was no one left who remembered other than the council, and then one by one, they started to disappear, let's say. And I knew what was happening, and I knew our friendship would not last through what he had become, so I left, and I came here. The one place you would never think to find me. And look what I've done. I've made quite a life for myself. The Dragonborn are doing fabulously, and he's stuck in that platinum tower by himself, fuming, trying to wipe out and control the rest of this area. The arrogant bastard.
And he's killing a lot of people in the process.
Well, that's what he does. Listen, what he's doing now is nothing compared to what he's done. This is a peasant. This is... He has killed more people in his lifetime than currently inhabit all of the Kael Isles.
And don't you care?
Well, of course I care. That's why I left. I couldn't help him continue doing it. It was going to end poorly for him. Eventually, I simply decided to go somewhere where I felt I could do the most good. I had no idea that the Dragonborn would just sit here for centuries as I'm feeding them information and teaching them the secrets of our magic and our magical defenses, which are probably completely obsolete by now. I mean, they had a real chance to do something, and they sat here just improving their defenses, building their city piece by piece. So I felt I had done enough. I had tried, I had failed, and now I was going to enjoy my retirement. I mean, it's not as if he's ever going to find me here.
Well, I wouldn't
Well,
Continue speaking, Victoria.
I just said I wouldn't be so sure about that.
And why do you say that? Listen, this idea of flying ships, I
Not an
helped
idea.
him formulate the idea they won't work. There's not enough electrum in the entirety of the Kael Isles for him to build even one of these ships, much less a
Could be
fleet.
eight.
And then there was the issue of finding a material that was light enough that.
Spider silk.
I'm sorry?
Spider silk. The sails are made of spider silk.
And you see he has a relatively pale complexion. Like most Eladrin, they're generally a very fair-skinned people, but you see his complexion pale even more. But then he would have to find a way to control the wind, and he has no ability to do that. No, it is still simply
You can conscript other people, other magic users like myself, who do know things like gust, and then can transmute it into stone. That
and you
put it
see
at
him
home.
flip his hand, and you immediately stand up and are pulled over to him by some unknown force. And he kneels down, so he's at the same, like he's at your eye level. He's like, "Are you telling me you created an item that lets him control the wind?"
I didn't want to. I was not under my own power.
And you see him stand up and start walking back and forth, and then he starts talking to himself. Well, yes, but then he was, of course, but no, of course it couldn't. It couldn't because the electrum would. But then if he could enchant the, no, but that would cost. And it's been 400 years, and if they were, then there's stupid dwarves, and they were mining things in the bottom. And then he turns to you and he goes, "You imbecile! Do you know what you've given him?"
Of course, and that's why I'm here.
Oh my! There's, I mean, I have to think on this. I have to think on this. I have to decide what it is that we're going to do. And you see him, he claps his hands, take them back to their rooms. That one, and he points at Willow. She doesn't leave. She stays there. Do you understand me? And all of his servants nod and go, "Yes, Lord." The rest of you are free to wander, but don't go far. I have problems I need to fix. And you see him disappear into a very large door behind where his chair was. The servants come and start kind of ushering you back towards your rooms.
Nope.
What would you like to do?
No, staying.
I'll Misty step right behind Willow.
Adriana comes over and go, I'm very sorry, but the Lord has asked that we return you to your rooms and has asked that. I'm sorry, I've not gotten your name yet, Mistress Gnome.
It's Willow.
He's decreed that Mistress Willow be confined to her room for the time being. I'm very sorry, but that is what.
That's fine. She's not going alone.
You are all welcome to return to your rooms. Please, follow us. And you see the servants now are not the same servants that were taking away the food. You notice they are quite a bit larger, still human, but much more muscular. And they start Not really like pushing you or anything like that, just kind of encouraging you to start heading towards your rooms.
Willow doesn't hesitate. She goes.
Okay. The rest of you?
I follow her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ava follows.
All right. So you guys get back to where your rooms are. Adriana takes Willow, opens her door for her. As soon as Willow is in the room, she closes the door and locks it, and then waves her hand, and the key to the door disappears. And then she turns to two of the servants that had come with the more muscular ones, and go, "No one opens this door. No one leaves this room or enters it. Do you understand?" They just go, "Yes, mistress." And they both stand there. And she turns to the rest of you. "You are welcome to return to your rooms, rest. If you are in need of entertainment, I can bring you books or puzzles, whatever you would like to pass the time with. I'm afraid the majority of books around here are either written in Eladrin or Draconian. Draconic, I mean. I'm very sorry. So, if you don't read either of those, the books will probably be fairly boring other than the pictures. And she just kind of stands there, waiting for your response.
I post up across the hallway from these guards, staring right at them.
They
I'm
don't
not.
actually look at you. They just eyes straight forward.
That's fine. I'm not taking my eyes off that door.
Master Fade, is there something I can do for you? Adriana
Yeah,
speaks
bring
up.
me a chair.
For what reason?
If she's in there, I'm out here. They can
She's-
guard the door, so can I.
She's very safe in there. It is very comfortable. If she wishes for food or something to drink or entertainment, we can provide it for her. She is simply not allowed to leave her room.
That's fine. You protect that room, I'll protect the door. We're working together on this one, I guess.
Fine. And so she motions, and a chair, again, it's wooden but painted in gold, is brought over. Would the rest of you prefer chairs so you can stare at a door?
No, Avok.
I'll be fine if you guys want to go rest. That's fine.
Do I have my arcane focus?
You don't have anything as of yet. They took everything from you. They took your armor, your clothes. The only thing you have on you right now is a really nice dress.
Sure.
Right.
Can I do cantrips without my focus?
If they have anything that has material components, would require either the material components or your focus. If it's just got verbal or somatic components, you don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine is gonna go take a nap.
Okay. So you go. The bed is incredibly comfortable, the most comfortable bed you've ever slept on.
Going into a food coma.
Kata, Avok, what do you guys want to do?
I'm going to bed. Her head hurts from realizing that he is technically part of the reason Mama may possibly be dead.
Okay. Avok?
Avok walks over to Fade and okay. Um, just don't fall asleep. Then walks over to Adriana.
Hmm. Who does a slight bow. Yes, Master Avok, what can I do for you?
Nothing. I just
Well,
your boss. There's I don't know. Just your boss is there's something off with him. That's all. And then he walks towards his room and enters.
well, he pays well, and that's all that really matters. And
There's
we
more to
are,
life than money.
well, we are also not under the rule of the Eladrin, so that is useful
You're
as
under
well.
the rule. Whatever. Avok goes into his room and just sits on the floor and waits until he hears something.
Okay. A couple of hours pass. Um, Nothing really happens. Fade as you sit there staring. You do notice Adriana stands at the end of the hallway the entire time. Not really watching you, but obviously just kind of aware of what's going on. You see her constantly kind of looking around. Every so often she'll another servant will come up and have a short conversation with her, and she'll send them off again. Obviously she holds some sort of rank in the house.
Can I cast tongues on myself and talk to these dudes?
They
These
speak.
guards?
They've been speaking common, so
Oh, these guys have? Okay. I thought they
yeah,
were different
they're
ones.
all they're all human, like you guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these have all been humans since you got to Talon's uh, estate. They've all been humans. To be perfectly honest, this is the most humans you've seen in one place in a while. They tend to congregate, just not around Eladrin. So
Does this guy have like a house color or an emblem or something that all these slaves have been wearing or his servants have been wearing?
just this gold thing, the gold
And
motif.
do these guys have? Oh yeah, you said they did.
Yeah, they're wearing tunics kind of similar to yours. Theirs are cut much more athletically, and the pants that they wear are cut much more athletically, and they have no sleeves on them. You don't see any weapons on them though. However, again, they're relatively muscular, and seem very alert.
Are oh god damn it! I hate to waste time with this, but I'm gonna try casting Zone of Truth in the hall around the three of us and see if they'll
Doesn't
let
that
that happen.
have material components?
The verbal somatic,
Verbal somatic. Okay. How long does it take to cast?
one action, duration
Oh
10
wow.
minutes.
Okay. So as you sit there and you start conjuring, um, they immediately look toward Adriana, and you see her kind of nod. And what's your spell save DC?
It is at 17.
Come on.
It's a charisma save.
It's a charisma save?
Yep.
For some reason I thought it was wisdom.
Because
That
everything else I do is.
well, it's a mind thing.
Yeah.
All the mind stuff is all wisdom. Like anything that used to be a will save is now a wisdom save. Except for this, apparently. Okay. Okay. All right, so you sit there and you cast Zone of Truth. You feel the energy start to go. Are you? I haven't read this spell in a really long time. Can you save out of it, or are you affected by it?
Um,
I think it says any
so
creature.
yeah, it's myself included. I'd make the save, but try to I'd try to be able to lie. But I know if they succeeded or failed.
Oh, you know if they succeeded or failed?
Yep. Though that's
Okay,
the wording.
they both succeed.
Okay.
They both got nat 20s.
Okay.
Ah, wow.
Don't worry, the DM got his nat 20s out.
Yeah.
You failed, however, so you have to tell the truth.
Yep. So how's it going, guys?
They don't say anything.
Okay. I spend a spell slot and wait out however long this takes.
Okay. So a couple of hours pass. While that time is passing, do you guys have anything you want to do? You can basically take a short rest.
Willow just like splashes some water on her face, notices some extra silver hair she hadn't seen in a while, and tries to be patient, but doesn't have any of her stuff to like tinker with, so she paces for a bit.
Okay.
And that's about it.
So after a few hours, you see someone come up to Adriana, and she comes up to you, Fade, and kind of places a hand on your shoulder and goes, "The Lord wishes to speak with Willow. I will be taking her now.
Yes, we will.
He wishes to speak with her alone. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to wait here. No harm will come to her, I promise you. He simply wishes to converse with her."
I'm going to wait outside the door, and if Willow's okay going by herself, then I'm not going to fight them.
Okay, so you see her kind of wave her hand, and the key appears, and she uses it to open the door. And she goes, "Mistress Willow, Lord
Yes.
Talon would like to speak to you alone."
Willow nods.
"Follow me, please."
She
And
follows.
she starts walking off. Fade, what do
I'm,
you do?
I immediately go over to Avok's room and let them know that they're taking her, but she went willingly.
Okay. Avok, you are given this information.
I don't like this.
Neither do I, and I plop down like against the wall and just kind of sit there.
Okay. So while that conversation is happening, Willow, they take you to a different part of the estate. You are led into a kind of extravagantly, wow. It's pretty room, and there's a very large desk with Talon behind it, and he comes in and he gestures, not really forcefully, but he kind of just gestures to a chair sitting on the other side of the desk. Quickly, quickly.
She sits.
Do you
Hey, Jody,
realize? Uh
is this something you should be whispering for, or?
huh. Not really. You
Okay.
guys can be aware of what the conversation is.
I'll just tell her about it.
So he goes, "Do you realize what it is that you've done?"
It is. Yes.
No.
Obviously.
And as soon as you start speaking, he interrupts you again. No, no, you can't realize what it is that you've done because you don't even realize who it is you were working for. You don't even realize what it is he plans to do. You don't even realize what it is that's going on outside of this tiny little bubble in space.
Then enlighten me.
With this technology, he can take out the Dragonborn. I mean, I have upgraded their defenses. I have defenses that the Eladrin have never thought to even consider. I know every single spell and magical technique and the blade song. While I'm not particularly proficient in it, I know how to defeat it. And yet, with this one thing, he can destroy an entire race of people. An entire civilization can be wiped out of history because of this.
I know.
Do you know what they've done? Do you know what they could do in the future when he's finally out of people to suck the life out of? Do you know what they could do? They could stop the elemental wars. They could bring peace between the Aesmar and the Tieflings. They could do so much. And yet you have given him the ability to completely wipe them out. And then if he finds a way to take this technology to other planes, I mean, the elemental plane of air, they've had airships for millennia, but they work in the plane of air. That's it. And they can't do what these do. You've ruined everything. Do you understand?
Will is very close to tears. Yes. Yes, I know. I know. I don't know how to stop it, but I want to try.
Stop it. Stop it. Do you think if someone could stop him that I wouldn't have done it? I shared a cell with the bastard for 230 years. I listened to his rhetoric for 230 years, talking about how disgusting the other races were, how the Wood Elves deserved to be obliterated, how humans were a disease on the world, how the Genasi were a perversion of life itself. But he has almost limitless power. In his platinum tower, as long as he controls that machine, he has almost unlimited power. No one in this plane of existence could stop him. And he's cut off the majority of the plane. We have no one but the people in the Kael Isles. He killed off the dwarves, erased their history, and enslaved them. He put the Wood Elves into hiding. The humans think they're free, which is hilarious. When he can conscript them, enslave them whenever he wants, to fight his wars of cleansing. No, you have no idea what it is you've done, and now I must fix it. And I don't have the tools.
What do you need?
What do I need? I need a miracle.
Well,
Explain to me in detail how every aspect of this works. And you see him lay out plans in front of you that scare you a little bit because they're remarkably similar to the first plans that you were shown when you first started working on the project. But the paper itself is ancient. It's very well preserved, but you can tell just from a casual glance that this paper is hundreds of years old. He goes, explain, and he sits there, and you guys basically start talking shop, where he starts sitting there, and he'll name different technical problems, going, well, this isn't possible because of this, and then you'd answer him with, well, we fixed it this way, and the conversation goes on like that for about 4 hours.
Okay.
While this is happening, you guys are waiting. Adriana has returned to her position, just kind of waiting outside your rooms, probably about 10 minutes after taking Willow. And, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour passes, an hour and a half passes. Do you guys want to do anything? Elaine, are you conscious by this point? Or are you still enjoying your food coma?
That's what I've been trying to decide. He's probably still asleep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's very
kept
comfortable.
probably falling asleep at this point.
Okay. So those two
Haven't
are
had
asleep.
nice food and nice bed like this in forever. So
She wants to sleep out this anger she's feeling inside.
Okay. Avok and Faye, you guys still in the same room? Did you return? Faye, did you return to your own room?
If Avok would be up for it, I probably would have stayed in there and started talking to him about what the hell we're gonna do if this goes south. Because we lucked our way here, but I mean we're here for their help, so we can either try to help them or convince them. But like, what do we do if this doesn't work?
I honestly don't fucking know anymore. Not that I knew anything to begin with. I've been doing this by the seat of my goddamn pants. The only thing I can think of right now, if nothing works out while we're here, is just get out of here, go to Platinum City, and kill that motherfucking Christopher. I have to admit, that's hilarious. Hopefully Willow can convince that weirdo. Hopefully we're not pretty much gonna... I can't help but feel this may be a tad deja vu. It's kind of like how we first met.
Things come full circle, don't they?
Things are just fucking weird. Did you even understand half the shit he said in that dinner?
Yes. It doesn't, I mean, I guess I can see how it makes sense, but I mean, the takeaway is we should be like living a lot longer than apparently we do, which great for me if I can do it. How? I don't know. I think it's on Willow's shoulders for now. I mean, whether we get this guy to help us or not, it's on her. But
Yeah. How long has it been since she went over to see him?
anything more than 5 minutes worries me. So longer than that.
Yeah.
I'll be in the next room over.
Sure.
And I walk out to say a little prayer, see if I can kind of recenter.
Okay. So 4 hours pass. Eventually, Fade, you hear a knocking on your door.
Boom, right up, get to the door. Wide
You
open.
see Adriana standing there. She does a slight bow. Master Fade, um, Lord Talon would request your presence.
Yep, let's go.
I need to gather the rest of your friends. So if you wouldn't mind waiting here at the end of the hallway, I'll escort you all down simultaneously.
Fade's in a rush, but he'll let her do it.
Okay. So she goes around to Kata's room. She knocks on your door, kind of wakes you up out of your sleep. Mistress Kata? She's calling through the door. Mistress Kata?
I am coming.
I'm very sorry to have woken you, but Lord Talon has requested your presence.
Okay.
Goes over, knocks on Avok's door.
Ava gets up and opens it.
Master Avok, another bow. Lord Talon has requested your presence.
Yeah, sure thing.
Right.
Oh, and Adriana,
Yes?
please stop bowing towards me. As fun as the master thing is, it's a little weird for me.
It's simply a sign of respect someone in my position gives to the guests of the Lord. It is part of my job. And then she turns and goes, knocks on Elaine's door, wakes you up out of your food coma.
He has alert. He's up.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly. And we'll open the door.
Master Elaine, Lord Talon requests your presence.
Alright.
So you guys all meet up. She takes you over to the same room that he and Willow have been in for a while. You see Willow there, kind of pacing back and forth. You can see her hair's a little bit frazzled. She's got marks on her face from what looks like maybe like a grease pencil or something similar to that. And you can see a stack of paper with just marks upon marks. Big, large sheets of paper that look they're blueprints, but none of you guys have ever seen blueprints before, so to you they're just, pictures with a bunch of numbers and stuff written all over them. Willow, you see your friends come in, and Talon goes, "Finally. Well, I guess I can inform the rest of you. You're all fucked. And while I understand it wasn't entirely your fault, Willow's the one that's fucked you all. She's remarkably gifted for a magic user in general, much less a gnome. You should be, if it weren't for the fact that you've quite literally ended the world, I would say you should be very proud of yourself, Willow. It's rather
She's good looking.
ingenious, the solutions you came up with.
Under better circumstances, I'd thank you.
So, you came to Draconis to what? To warn them? And then do what? You've seen the size of this city. There are millions of Dragonborn who live here. Do you think that they're simply going to run? They're going to hide? There's certainly nowhere they can go. There's nowhere now that they would be safe from the Council of One. So why have you decided to come here?
Really, it's just to take the fight to the little bastard.
So you want to fight the Council of One. The five of you want to attempt to fight the most powerful creature currently in existence, aside from maybe the gods. And they're trapped in Elysium and the Nine Hells.
Yes?
Why not?
Who better to help
Well,
us than the one group he's never conquered?
I guess Willow never mentioned that you were smart.
Thanks?
But
From what you've mentioned, you know how he's still alive, correct?
Of course I do. I developed the process that gave him that ability. He convinced me it was for the best.
Well, then between the two of us, can't we come up with a way to stop it?
I know how to stop it. We have to turn the machine off or destroy it. But it's in the Platinum Tower. He never leaves it. He never has to. His power is so great, his influence so vast. His rapiers on their own are a force to be reckoned with. Him? While he was never as gifted in magic as I was, or really most of our race, he is the most skilled swordsman I have ever seen in my life, and that is saying something. I have personally met the Queen's Guard. I have seen them take down score of elementals without breaking a sweat. The Council of One could put them to shame, could kill them in an instant without remorse. And he has unlimited life as long as that machine is active.
Then we turn it off or die trying. What other choice do we have?
Well, I certainly prefer the not die trying. This is bigger than us. This is bigger than your people or the Kael Isles or anything like this. This is existence. What do you think he'll do when he finishes with the Kael Isles? He will run out of people to drain. He will have to expand.
Which is why we have to stop him first.
How will you even get to the Platinum Tower? It's in the upper city. You'd first have to find your way into the lower city, which is full of Eladrin who still think him almost a god, with the full power of their magic at their disposal. Then you'd have to find a teleportation room that somehow is still working when people are invading to get to the upper city. And then you would have to fight through literally dozens of rapiers, their personal guards, and his personal army before you even got to the Platinum Tower.
Well, I can tell you that the ships were built in a large cave under the Platinum City, connected by a teleportation circle. So that way we at least have in.
You didn't mention that before.
You were a little busy.
That is interesting. Yes. And you see him just kind of throw all the papers off to get to a blank sheet of paper, and he takes a grease pencil that he has behind his ear, and he hands it to Willow. He's like, sketch the circle. How much do you remember of it? I need as much detail as you can possibly give me.
Okay. I give him as much as I can remember.
Roll me a history check.
I get proficiency. Awesome. Hmm. 20, but not natural.
It's pretty good. You sketch what you can remember of it. Again, while under the Gaius spell, you have a hard time remembering specifics in general. It was kind of just you were in a daze almost the entire time. But you sketch the majority of it, and you notice that he fills in little bits and pieces after you sketch it, and he's like, well, it's possible. But we can't do this. They'll as soon as I get within 100 miles of the Platinum City, he'll know I'm coming. He'll be able to feel it. No, we need something so big that he has no choice but not to ignore it. Well, it's time for us to go see Gorthak, isn't it? I'm afraid your current attire will probably be, let's say, slightly too garish for our next confrontation. And you hear him clap, and you hear behind you the door open, and chests are brought forward. And when they're opened, your personal belongings, including your armor and things like that, are in it. You may wish to dress in something a little bit more comfortable. We're going to have to convince Gorthak that you are more than just a ragtag bunch of idiots that think that they can take out the most powerful being in the Kael Isles by themselves.
Now you speak in our language.
Levi picks up his great axe, rips off the tunic, all like the whole tunic that he's throwing. Oh,
As you
that's
do
fucking
that,
better.
he goes, that was expensive.
Sorry.
Never give good clothing to barbarians. Someone write that down. And you see one of the servants that brought that in just scribbling notes down.
Is Adriana nearby? Out of curiosity?
She's in the room. She didn't bring one of the chests, but she seems to be kind of like the master of the house. All the servants seem to answer to her, or mistress of the house. I didn't want to say mistress of the house because it sounds like a very different position, but yeah, she seems to be the head of the household, so or the head of the household
Right.
staff.
Okay, so she is nearby. Let me. I just want to roll like a quick perception. Okay, yeah. I decided to roll a 23 perception just to do a slight glance and see if Adriana made any type of motion that.
If she's impressed.
She doesn't seem to care. She she watched you do that. You see her wince slightly as really expensive fabric is torn to shreds. But beyond that, you notice that the wince is more directed towards Tolan than it is towards what you're doing. You get the idea that she probably realizes how upset he is that you've just destroyed an outfit that probably cost more than you've ever had.
Can Willow pick it up and try and mend it now that she has an arcane focus again?
You notice that So with the mending cantrip, you have to kind of have at least a basic understanding of the object that you're trying to mend. And the tunic itself is so intricate and so well
Yeah.
crafted. It's just beyond your ability to mend correctly. You could put the pieces back together, but it would not look like it did before.
Okay.
There's something to be said for a master tailor making something.
All right.
Tailoring is its own kind of magic. So you guys are given privacy to kind of don your armor and your weapons. Fade, as soon as you put the gauntlet back on, you feel your connection to the Dark Lady come back. Again, it's this threadbare grasp that you can barely feel her, but it's there, and you haven't felt that since they took your gauntlet. And that is actually where we are going to end it for tonight.
All right.
So if you're watching this live, I do run games. Now it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays, depending on the week. So if you follow me here on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/TrainerJody. You'll get a turn on notifications. You'll get a notification every time I go live. But it's Tuesday and Wednesday nights I run D&D games. Otherwise, every other Saturday I run an Open Legend game over on Zelda Universe. It's twitch.tv/Zelda Universe TV, if I remember correctly. And so that's fun too. And I will randomly do karaoke streams on here when I'm feeling blue. So yes, feel free to follow me here. Follow me on Twitter. I do have all the episodes of this campaign. It's been running for over 2.5 years on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TrainerJody. So if you want to catch up or if you're watching it there, feel free to see where everything began, see these guys, how they've evolved over the past couple of years. And yes, please watch it live. We'd love to have live audience members commenting and things like that. Otherwise, that's all for me today, and I will see you guys next time, all right? Bye-bye.
Bye.